What's up, folks? This is Raj here from Building on the Internet, and today I'm going to be introducing y'all to a very interesting friend of mine from Twitter, Abhay Jani. For those of y'all who frequent Twitter, is known for the funny memes that he makes on the Indian Twitter ecosystem. But that's not all. What is inspiring to me is Abhay's journey as a petroleum engineer to a growth manager at one of India's fastest growing consumer tech startup. So Abhay started off as an engineer at Tech Mahindra, went on to join Shell as a process data engineer, and then went on to do multiple internships at startups. Finally, joining Y Combinator backed Axio job, and then now he currently is looking into growth at FrontRow. I know a lot of you all want to know more about how to break into startups, and there's no one better than Abhay to walk you through this journey. So let's get started. Welcome, welcome Abhay to this very funky YouTube show that I have with other friends here on Twitter. Right? We've known each other for around what, like almost 2 years now. We've done a bunch of
Yeah,
fun things together, right? We've sort of
yeah,
seen days from looking at people from the lower rungs of the whole hierarchy, so to say, to now like having
true.
enough vantage point and clout to go about moving things, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I think I wanted to do this episode with you so that we could share with people about how they could also, like in 18 months, flip their life trajectory, right? Like 180 degrees. And no one better than you to sort of kick it off. So, yeah, but to begin, right, wanted to know more about your time in college. You graduated with a degree in, well, not computer science or any fancy stuff like that, but in petroleum
Yeah.
engineering, right? From PDPU. So how was that like? How was that environment like? What did you pick up from there?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks, Raj, for having me here. Super excited. So talking about PDPU, I'll say PDPU is kind of a typically a tier two college, if you would like to put that, like probably after IITs, NITs, and top private colleges. The layer that we have in the private college sectors, I think PDPU will fall into that.
Mhm.
Um, Most of the people, I'll say, try to get the placements from the college in the environment that I've been to. And अगर उनको placement नहीं मिलता, then the only viable option is कि MBA कर लो, MS कर लो, or things like that. So हाँ, most of the smart people, smart folks I've seen have done MBA or MS or something like that. So हाँ, placement इतने लोगों को कुछ खास खास मिलता नहीं है. And that's the environment that I've been through for the 4 years of my college.
So what was your ambition like, right? What were you trying to sort of like dreaming of, thinking of when you were in college?
Yeah, I chose the branch petroleum because in 2013 or 2012 I would say जब 12वीं से graduate हो रहा था. तो if you Google ना कि what is the highest paying offer or highest paying ये area, तो उसमें petroleum engineering का नाम आता है. ठीक है, and I would say that's the primary reason मैंने किया कि यार, and that's a simple fortune या Forbes का कोई article, ठीक है, जिसमें there are like 20 jobs listed. उसमें सबसे पहला लिखा है पेट्रोलियम इंजीनियरिंग. मैंने बोला ठीक है, घर के पास कॉलेज है, कर लेते हैं, क्या पता अपनी भी सैलरी राइट में नौकरी कभी लग जाएगी.
मतलब
तो
now looking back you can be like, अरे ये तो content marketing था, कोई तो like किसी ने तो listicle लिखा था that decided my
एंड
life.
मतलब इट्स नॉट ओनली मी, ठीक है, बहुत सारे मेरी बैच में आई नो पीपल, वो लोग भी वही बोलते हैं. मैंने आज तक यार तुमने क्यों लिया पेट्रोलियम, ठीक है, 12वीं के बाद इतना होता नहीं कोई चॉइस या इतना कोई तुम्हारा दिमाग कि यहाँ क्या लूंगा. दे आर लाइक हाँ ये ब्रांच में ये लिखा है तो अपने भी ले लिया. एंड I would say that content marketing plus like the admission process that I had in the college, उसमें ऐसा है कि बढ़िया सा अच्छा सा ग्रीन लश कैंपस है, एंड तुमको ऑडिटोरियम में बिठा के बढ़िया सी कॉलेज की वीडियो दिखाते हैं. दे टेल यू कि हमारे स्टूडेंट दुनिया के हर कोने में काम करते हैं. लाइक बढ़िया बोल रहा है ये वीडियो में बंदा, कॉलेज तो अच्छा ही होगा
इधर
मतलब।
इधर ही जाना है, right? Like that is the
Yeah,
impression. So yeah, I think they definitely, I mean, colleges definitely do a great job of marketing, right? Like
yeah,
भले ही product, like whatever the service that is offered is like it's somewhere else, but the marketing department is generally like tod fod at most
yeah.
colleges, right? So you came out of college and you got a job at Shell, right? Like if I'm not wrong,
No, no, I
how did
mean the
that happen?
first job I had was in Tech Mahindra,
Uh-huh.
which is an IT company.
Oh
So
yeah. So IT, अपना
yeah.
IT.
Yeah, so in Tech Mahindra, I was not working in a typical IT sector वाला
Mm-hmm.
जो job होता है. Like generally क्या होता है कि लोग 6 महीने का training phase लेते हैं after
Mm-hmm.
they graduate and if they get selected in any of the IT companies. तो luckily मेरे केस में वो नहीं था because my job was in one of the oil and gas clients only.
Mm-hmm.
तो वहाँ पे they didn't want me कि तुम कुछ और कोडिंग वगैरह सीखो या 6 महीने का ट्रेनिंग करो. बट हाँ, जॉब सैलरी वगैरह वाज टिपिकल आईटी का सैलरी एंड आई गॉट दिस जॉब फ्रॉम कैंपस एंड आई वाज
Got
प्रीटी
it.
हैप्पी एट दैट टाइम, ठीक है, बिकॉज आई fallen like the last, I would say, 20% in terms of rank in my batch.
Mm-hmm.
80% लोग मेरे से ज्यादा परसेंटाइल आते थे, उसमें से बहुत सारे लोगों की नौकरी नहीं लगती थी, ठीक है. मेरी नौकरी लगी, बोला ठीक है यार, कुछ ना कुछ मिल गया नौकरी, that's fine only.
So and back in this time, like how much did you think about startups, or were you aware? I mean, ये दुनिया क्या होती है? Like was that even in your like eyesight?
As a startup world, compared to corporates, I would say
Mm-hmm.
no, but I had an idea कि startup जैसा कुछ होता है, mainly क्योंकि everyone has used Flipkart by that time, ठीक है,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2017 18 Flipkart and many other services people would have used by that time. So that was the only reason I knew कि हाँ startup जैसा कुछ होता है. But
Mm-hmm.
my perception was कि startups is just the techie, ठीक है, मतलब जिसको coding आता है वो लोग startups करते हैं, ठीक है. There is nothing else for me to probably learn from that industry, or there is no way I can get into that, ठीक है, मेरे को coding आती नहीं कहीं से.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. And then you made a transition to Shell, which is of course like a MNC, very
Yeah.
reputed MNC, and that was right again in your core area, right? That you had graduated in. How did that like? How did that jump happen? And from there, like you sort of that is the time when I remember you started getting on LinkedIn and getting active, seeing you on Twitter. Right? Like, what was going on in your mind? क्या चल रहा
Yeah.
था?
यार तो टेक महिंद्रा के टाइम पे फॉर श्योर द ओनली थिंग दैट आई हैड इन माइंड इज कि यहाँ से निकलना है, ठीक है, जितना जल्दी हो सके यहाँ से निकलना है, फिर देखेंगे क्या क्या कर सकते हैं. तो शेल वाज द ऑप्शन, वन ऑफ माय लाइक many of my college seniors were working, and वहाँ से एक ओपनिंग के लिए जॉब रेफरल आई गॉट एंड आई सेलेक्टेड थ्रू द इंटरव्यूज. Shell, I would say, as a MNC, culture wise and everything is very, very cool. Okay? Matlab, like, I would say Shell and probably most of the MNCs are best place to retire. Okay. But उसके अलावा I didn't see, so I spent, few months, couple of months there, or I would say, a quarter or something there. I saw कि and my first goal was to see कि यहाँ पे क्या हो सकता है अपना. Most of the people don't do that activity once they join any corporate, but मेरे दिमाग में वो था. The reason was कि many of my close friends in college were doing MBA, ठीक है, and they were getting their MBA के placements, and I was seeing कि मतलब उनका salary levels is a bit higher than what I'm probably getting at Shell. तो I knew कि शायद मेरे को भी शायद MBA तो करना पड़ेगा, but let's see the options क्या है. But हाँ, it's a typical career ladder that you see in corporates. I'm not saying कि मतलब corporates के अंदर तुम like jump वाली career ladder नहीं कर सकते. Many people do that as well. But being a typical small employee, like in a corporate world, they say कि तुम्हारा जो employee का वो होता है grade, वो lowest होता है, ठीक है. If you are a graduate, you start from the lowest, and you can always see कि तुम्हारा CEO जो होता है, who sits in somewhere in the other parts of the world, वो like 15-16 level up होता है तुम्हारा, and you just figure out कि तुम वहां तक कैसे पहुंच सकते हो. Um, तो in my department, in my office, it was pretty simple कि तुम 2 साल 3 साल रहो, पहला promotion, 3 साल 4 साल और रहो, दूसरा promotion, फिर 4-5 साल में कुछ ना कुछ होगा, कोई ना कोई कलीग इधर-उधर होगा तो प्रमोशन होता रहेगा।
Mhm.
It's like कि 15-20 years में you will go through 3 to 4 promotion cycles, that's it. There is no way to hack through that system
Mhm.
if you want to get promoted. Now, obviously, there are other ways to make money. People
Mhm.
go to offsite, people go to other countries, and people, stay there for a month, or sorry, a year or a few months, and they get paid in, dollars and other currencies. So that is one way to make money. But that's not an obvious way. ठीक है? Obvious way पे तुमको अगर पैसा बनाना है तो तुम्हारी स्किल के ऊपर तुमको प्रमोशन चाहिए ही चाहिए।
Mhm.
तो उसका कोई रास्ता था नहीं एंड आई ऑल्सो स्टार्टेड एक्सप्लोरिंग अदर रोल्स कि ठीक है मेरे डिपार्टमेंट थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल ज्यादा है नॉन टेक्निकल डिपार्टमेंट मार्केटिंग डिपार्टमेंट्स के अंदर भी आई यूज्ड टू टॉक टू फ्यू पीपल पर ऑल ऑफ देम वर लाइक यार हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में तो हम आईआईटीज आईआईएम से लोग हायर कर रहे हैं ऑब्वियस रीजन तो हम तुमको नहीं ले सकते
Got it.
ठीक है
Mm.
तो there was no way I could have probably I'll say in simple terms कि मैं मेरे कॉलेज वाले जो दोस्त जो एमबीए करके जा रहे थे आईआईएम से या अदर टॉप एमबीए कॉलेज से उनकी सैलरी लेवल पे मैं कभी पहुंच नहीं पाता 5 साल या 7 years
Mhm.
डाउन तक
So, I mean, it is a position wherein you are not in control of, like your trajectory. Potential hai, fir bhi like
एब्सोल्युटली
it's capped, right? Because of the nature of how the corporate system, world, whatever works.
हाँ यार मतलब वहां पे तुम कितना भी कर लो कितना भी स्किल दिखा दो उनको फर्क नहीं पड़ता
Mhm.
उनके पास मतलब बाहर गेट पे मतलब 500 लोग और खड़े हैं
और correct.
जिनको सेम नौकरी चाहिए ठीक है तो
मतलब
तुम्हारी कोई वैल्यू थोड़ी है वहां पे उतनी
डिमांड सप्लाई का सीन तो बहुत लाइक डिमांड सप्लाई की तो लगी पड़ी है. इट्स नॉट इन योर फेवर बेसिकली, right? It's
Yeah,
definitely not
true.
in your favor.
True.
So Abhay, like here, like
Yeah.
talking about these things, right? Like that you can do, like you can go abroad if you want to make more money and so all of that. Brings me to a bigger question: ki what is it that you're optimizing for, right? On a like on let's say thinking about your career, which is like a 30-40 year adventure generally, right? What are you trying to right now optimize for in the short run and in the long run, like with the information that you have today?
Yeah. Right now, for the short run, I would say I'm optimizing for learning and making connections with some smart people.
Mhm.
Um, I had like pay scale all or salary when I was in Shell और उससे भी थोड़ा पहले
Mhm.
कि नहीं बस सैलरी चाहिए बाद में चीजें देख लेंगे but right now I'm kind of not optimizing it for in the long run I would say कि like few years down the line like something stable in terms of like probably I have built something of my own, say
Mhm.
a company or probably a personal profile of my own, so that I do not used to worry about कि यार कल उठ के मेरे को क्या करना पड़ेगा or things like that, like kind
Mhm.
of independent free life irrespective of the job or something. I think that's fairly everyone wants in my friend circles or in the circle that I know.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean that's the aspiration of wanting to have freedom, be able to make your own decisions, and not have an alarm to sort
Yeah,
of
yeah.
wake up to. I think that is something all of us sort crave for, na, at the end of
I
the
mean,
day.
I mean that's kind of the top of the goal. उसके नीचे obviously like I like to work on things that I'm working right now. Irrespective मतलब if I have the job or not, I'll keep working on things that I love.
Mhm.
So that is kind of a privilege that comes after that once you are settled there.
Fair enough. And so, like, how did this unraveling happen? How did you, then wake up to the whole world of startups? How did that journey begin? And yeah, how did you, like, get your first sort of kill, right?
Yeah. So thing was कि during the shell time LinkedIn पे I was very active.
Mhm.
ठीक है. Obvious reason was कि मेरे को देखना था कि लोग क्या करते हैं. क्योंकि देर आर सम प्रोफाइल्स दैट यू सी ऑन लिंक्डइन एंड यू गो लाइक वाओ इसने ऐसे कैसे कर दिया इसने मतलब प्रोबब्ली आईटी में बिजनेस एनालिस्ट था वहां से सम सीनियर मैनेजर कोई बड़ी एमएनसी में कैसे 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 हो सकता है ये ठीक है तो आई जस्ट यूज टू ऑब्जर्व पीपल ठीक है ओनली रीजन वाज आई जस्ट वांटेड टू सी कि इफ देर आर पीपल लाइक मी
Mhm.
who have been doing some things unconventionally by going through unconventional routes and कुछ धमाकेदार कर रहे हैं कि नहीं लाइफ में
Mhm.
that was the reason and then I also found all the people who shares interesting things along with LinkedIn Gyan
Mhm.
and I used to look up to them Okay, I still look up to some of them, but at that time I used to look up to all of them. I pinged many people. I have done coaching sessions, if you want to call it that way. Like really, I used to cold DM people, many of the people from like top B schools or top companies that I was looking to कि ये कैसे कर सकते हैं, कैसे हो सकता है, ठीक है. I did that for few months and I realized कि यार यहाँ पे कोई ओरिजिनल चीज सिखाता नहीं है. Everyone will tell you कि ये करो, वो करो, ऐसे हो सकता है. But I couldn't find the people who have been through that and वो वहाँ पे कुछ शेयर कर लो अपनी जर्नी. ठीक है. तो LinkedIn के अंदर I did that. Meanwhile, I was also looking at Twitter because couple of people on LinkedIn and few people in my connections also told me कि Twitter पे कुछ ना कुछ होते रहता है. Like some people share some things on Twitter. And to be fair, I also read an like ये पलक झटाकिया का एक डेली ब्रॉडकास्ट आता है. उसमें ही once shared the list of top people you should follow on Twitter. मैंने बोला कि ठीक है, इतना टाइम से मैं सोच रहा हूँ, let's try to follow this people and देखते हैं क्या होता है. So it simply started from that कि like literally you follow Paul Graham and Naval Ravikant and ये 3-4 other people and then you feel like oh wow, ये लोग तो कुछ ज्यादा ही interesting और honesty के साथ चीजें शेयर कर रहे हैं. LinkedIn में
ये
तो
तो
ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता.
ये तो अलग लेवल का ज्ञान है. लाइक अमेरिकी ज्ञान इज ऑन सम डिफरेंट
Yeah,
लेवल एज कंपेयर्ड टू व्हाट यू हियर ऑन.
yeah, and like like good thing about I mean how they present it, कि they make it sound so simple. The way they put it like कि तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. Right. But LinkedIn के अंदर if you see things तुमको लगता है कि ये नहीं हो पाएगा फिर से. Some CEO can only do this if CEO is writing this. So that is also very important ना कि तुम your writing or your way of telling it to the world should be that way कि मतलब छोटे से छोटा आदमी भी समझ पाए तुम्हारी बातें. ठीक है. So that was a miss that I always had in LinkedIn. मेरे को समझ नहीं आता था ये लोग लिख रहे हैं, बता रहे हैं, करते कैसे हैं. So,
I think yeah, that is definitely like insight देते हैं लोग पर like बोलते नहीं कि like how did they arrive to the insight, or even on LinkedIn if people put that कि ये तो like चमक नहीं रहा है, like something here
हाँ
doesn't
मतलब
sound.
there are 5 people, ठीक है, there are 5 people on LinkedIn who tells me कि Airbnb की मार्केटिंग कितनी बढ़िया है. बट टेल मी ना कि कैसे बढ़िया है Airbnb का मार्केटिंग वाला, या ब्रिंग समवन एंड टेल मी कि उसने ये सब कैसे किया, कैसे बनाया. आई नो, ठीक है, मैं भी Airbnb की वेबसाइट एक 30 दिन तक देखूंगा, मैं भी आर्टिकल लिख दूंगा. But I still don't understand कि how do they do it, or
Yeah.
the person who is behind say Airbnb marketing or any example for that sort, वो कैसे करता है. And that is important. ठीक है, सिर्फ ज्ञान लिखने से मैं improve नहीं हो रहा हूँ.
Yeah, I think that brings me to a question about, like, you said you went about DMing people, cold DMing people on LinkedIn, and I know you did that on Twitter as well. Like, that's how we sort of got in touch as well. But like this habit of yours, has this been around right since college? Ki this curiosity, ki I'll just go to random people and ask them a question. Has this been there, or is this like some new habit that just came up when you were working?
Not really. I mean, I so to be honest कि कॉलेज के टाइम पे ना मेरी अंग्रेजी अच्छी थी नहीं. तो आई मीन आई यूज्ड टू डू मेनी थिंग्स इन एंड ऑन. ठीक है, हर कोई कॉलेज में इवेंट कराते रहता है. ठीक है, आई आल्सो यूज्ड टू डू दैट. बट माय बैचमेट्स या फिर माय टीममेट्स ऑलवेज यूज्ड टू से कि अबे तेरे को अंग्रेजी आती नहीं है तो तू बैक एंड वाले ही काम कर. ठीक है, स्टेज के पीछे रह के खड़ा होकर तेरे को तू लोगों को गुलदस्ते दे, यही तेरे से हो सकता है. एंड आई हैव डन दैट. तो एट दैट टाइम आई नेवर हैड एन कॉन्फिडेंस कि मैं किसी को जाके कुछ बोल सकता हूँ. आई ऑलवेज थॉट कि हाँ लोग बोलते हैं कर सकते हैं. तो आई नेवर हैड अ फियर कि मैं नहीं कर सकता. बट आई ऑल्सो डिडंट हैड द कॉन्फिडेंस कि मैं कर सकता हूँ. But I think that developed over a period of time. I think probably switching to corporates would have also contributed that, क्योंकि तुम थोड़ा सा बॉस वगैरह से बात करना सीख जाते हो, क्लाइंट वगैरह से बात करना सीख जाते हो, तुमको लगता है कि चिल्ड है, सामने वाला भी आदमी है मतलब.
Absolutely, and I think yeah, English holds back a lot of people, right? बहुत सारे लोगों को हिचकिच होती है कि
For sure.
like people will judge me, क्या बोलेगा लोग, right? Like so I think from there on you pretty much like once you came on Twitter, I remember you you wrote that article, Lambda Schools of India, right, which really got picked up for a long time. It used to show on the top result of Google, that whenever people used to
Yeah.
search for Lambda School India and so on. So how did that, like, what went in your mind when you wrote that, and like how, and from what I saw, right, from my standpoint, that was really the moment wherein it started really compounding, right? Like people started looking up to you कि oh Abhay ये कुछ लिख रहा है, right? Like कुछ कर रहा है, like
Yeah.
someone is doing something new around here, right? So
Yeah.
how do you think like other people can make that moment happen, that inflection point happen for themselves?
Yeah, interesting question. So, for me, I mean, to be honest, I never had an, like intent ki ऐसा कुछ article लिखूं. But the only point was कि the उस टाइम पे मतलब हर उस पे कुछ ना कुछ ट्विटर पे ट्रेंडिंग होता है,
Mhm.
राइट? उस टाइम पे लाइक लैम्डा स्कूल वाज ट्रेंडिंग बिकॉज
Mhm.
ही ऑस्टिन बहुत ज्यादा लैम्डा स्कूल को प्रमोट कर रहा था एंड ही वाज टेलिंग द वर्ल्ड कि कितने सारे लैम्डा स्कूल के एड्स अच्छी अच्छी कंपनीज में जा रहे हैं. एंड आई न्यू कि बहुत सारे सिमिलर मॉडल्स के अंदर भी कंपनीज है वो इंडिया में वर्क कर रही है. तो आई थॉट कि मे बी आई जस्ट राइट अबाउट इट एंड सी क्या हो सकता है. बिकॉज आई हैव सीन कि लोग मतलब इन जनरल ट्विटर पे ये सब करते हैं कि इफ दे फाउंड समथिंग इंटरेस्टिंग दे कोलेट अ लिस्ट ऑफ थिंग्स एंड दे जस्ट टेल इट टू पीपल सो दैट इट बिकम्स हेल्पफुल टू दैम. तो like, मैं कोई कोडर हूँ नहीं. I didn't had that level of intention, but I just thought कि maybe I'll write and कुछ लोगों को तो ये helpful होगा ही होगा.
I think, and that really sort of was helpful because no one had compiled such a list for India before, right? Like only a few people on Twitter were just like talking about it, but you sort of broke the story before like even startups went to do PR in like your Times of India or all these other bigger media firms, right? So I'm definitely sure that there are many more of these opportunities even today that a lot of people can sort of grab, right, if they really want to break break onto the scene, right? Definitely. So Abhay, from
Yeah,
there on, like how did you get your first job at a startup,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
was it because of Twitter? Like how did that happen?
I mean, Twitter told me how can I do it, but I didn't have the confidence. ठीक है,
Mm-hmm.
तुम corporate job में settled होते हो, confidence नहीं होता. एंड सेकेंड थिंग इज कि तुम कोई भी स्टार्टअप में अप्लाई करोगे, तुमको कोई स्टार्टअप मानेगा नहीं कि तुम 3 महीने का नोटिस पीरियड लेके आओ. ठीक
Mm-hmm.
है, लाइक अ मंथ, 1.5 month इज मैक्स दे कैन आस्क. एंड थर्ड थिंग वाज कि मेरे पास कोई स्किल था नहीं.
Mm-hmm.
ठीक है, मतलब व्हाट स्किल डिड आई हैड टू शो टू पीपल जस्ट कि हाँ बस मैं हसलर हूँ. बट हसलर दिखाने का कुछ 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 प्रूफ होना चाहिए. तो मैंने सोचा कि ठीक है, सेफ राउट्स पे चलते हैं. तो मैं एंजल लिस्ट पे जाके पार्ट टाइम जॉब्स ढूंढता था. आई डिड कपल ऑफ दोज जॉब्स मेनली फॉर पीपल इन इंडिया टोटली फॉर फ्री. ठीक है,
Mm-hmm.
सिंपल डिजिटल मार्केटिंग पार्टनरशिप सेल्स वाली जॉब्स थी फॉर स्मॉल स्मॉल कंपनीज इन इंडिया. एंड एंजल लिस्ट से ही मेरे को वो डायरेक्टली मिल गई थी. एंड उस पे काम करके एंड आई सॉ कि मतलब वर्किंग फॉर अ फी आई मेड फ्यू lakhs फॉर देम,
Mm-hmm.
व्हिच इज फाइन. मतलब मेरे को उससे प्रॉब्लम नहीं, आई डिडंट गॉट एनीथिंग. बट आई लाइक कि हाँ मतलब कर तो सकता हूँ मैं कुछ. आई एम स्टिल नॉट श्योर व्हाट स्किल डू आई हैव. इट्स जस्ट अ नॉर्मल जनरल मार्केटिंग पीए पार्टनरशिप सेल्स वाला कुछ तो भी स्किल, बट हो सकता है. तो देन आई स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग कि फुल टाइम कर सकते हैं, इसमें प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. एमबीए में वैसे भी मेरा कुछ हो नहीं रहा था. मैं 3 साल से उसके पहले एमबीए दे रहा था.
Mm-hmm.
ठीक है,
Cat.
1993. हाँ, कैट दे रहा था मैं. 1993 आते थे, उसमें आईएम नहीं मिलता था. हमको फायदा नहीं है कुछ करने का उसके
Mm-hmm.
आगे. तो आई थॉट कि ठीक है, अब यही ऑप्शन बचा है, देख लेते हैं. तो बट हाँ, एंड द सेकंड थिंग, आई मीन अदर थिंग दैट आई केप्ट इन माइंड वाज कि सब लोग बोलते थे कि अर्ली स्टेज स्टार्टअप में लर्निंग सबसे ज्यादा होती है.
Mm-hmm.
ठीक है, इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ वट एवर यूर रोल यू गेट इनटू. तो मैंने भी ये सोचा था कि इतनी कोई फाइनेंशियल लायबिलिटी है नहीं, अर्ली स्टेज में ही जाते हैं, देखते हैं वहां पे जाके क्या होता है. एंड आई वुड से दैट डिसीजन और दैट पॉइंट जो कि मैंने छोड़ा नहीं कि अर्ली स्टेज में ही जाना है, अर्ली स्टेज में ही सीखना है, is probably the best decision I would have taken, say for the actual job or even for the front row. Like I keep saying it कि बहुत सारे सब लोगों को पता है कि अर्ली स्टेज पे सबसे ज्यादा लर्निंग होते हैं. but probably less than 5% of people actually go and work for early stage. Okay.
True, because it's a lot
Everyone,
of risk, right? Like your parents
yeah.
parents have things to say, then your friends have things to say कि अरे भाई risk क्यों ले रहे हो, right? Like, and yeah, I mean you have to
And
be.
I don't agree
Mhm,
to that. ठीक है, मतलब IIT IIM से है और तुम्हारे पास liability है financial, then I totally agree. ठीक है, तुम
mhm,
जाओ, even if you are not from IIT, तुम्हारे पास कुछ और family loans है, family, बहुत सारे लोग कॉलेज के बाद तुरंत घर चलाते हैं खुद का, ठीक है,
mhm,
टोटली अंडरस्टैंड। पर अगर तुम थोड़े से भी प्रिविलेज्ड हो, यहाँ
mhm,
तक जहाँ पे तुमको सिर्फ खुद की जिम्मेदारी है, then
mhm,
go and work for early stage ना, like I'll tell you, most of the people that I speak with ना, वो मेरे को बोलते हैं कि यार फिर मैं खुद का कैसे करूंगा, मेरे पास सेविंग्स नहीं है।
mhm.
एंड आई गेट सरप्राइज, लाइक अर्ली स्टेज स्टार्टअप्स देते हैं पैसा, ठीक
Yeah.
है। सम पे 30,000 अ मंथ एटलीस्ट, सम
Mhm,
पे 25,000 30,000 अ मंथ, और बाकी के पे 50,000 60,000 अ मंथ, और इवन मोर देन दैट, ठीक है,
mhm,
अगर तुम फ्रेशर हो तब भी। तो आई डोंट सी अ पॉइंट, ठीक है, मतलब लाइक 25,000 और 30,000 अ मंथ is still higher than my first salary at Tech Mahindra,
mhm.
ठीक है। सो दिस इज लाइक एवरेज ऑफ इंडियन आईटी, उससे ज्यादा स्टार्टअप तुमको ऑलरेडी पे कर रहा है, इवन इफ दे आर बेसिक, उनके पास अगर बेसिक सा फंडिंग है, इवन इफ नहीं है तब भी फाउंडर्स खुद के पैसों से इतना तो देते हैं। आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड कि सिर्फ फ्रेंड्स फैमिली वाले बोलेंगे कि पॉइंट को छोड़ के व्हाट प्रॉब्लम पीपल हैव इन जॉइनिंग अर्ली स्टेज कंपनीज, दैट्स टोटली बुलशिट।
I think that's absolutely fair, right? Ki if you can afford to take the risk, you have to be stupid to not uh, take this risk. If you
Yeah,
know that this startup world exists, if you are excited by it, there's no reason why people should think twice
yeah.
before making
Yeah.
that
I mean, other
decision.
than bootstrapped, I cannot think of, any companies which will not offer like basic minimum salary for you to survive in the city that you are living. ठीक है,
Mhm.
स्टार्टअप का थोड़ा सा भी फंडिंग है, they'll always give some amount of money, अगर तुम इंटर्न हो तब भी पैसा देंगे तो।
Yeah, and you should ask if they're not giving, right? Like that is
Yeah,
that is the that is the thing.
yeah. And
So
हाँ, मतलब that way I was also lucky कि I at least found people जो ऐसे नहीं थे कि मतलब they were not offering me money, though I didn't know कि मतलब ऐसा भी सीन होता है। I know बहुत सारे स्टार्टअप ऐसे भी करते हैं, मतलब इन सिंपल टर्म्स चूस लेते हैं एम्प्लॉइज को, ठीक है, काम निकलवा के और पैसा नहीं देते, व्हिच इज अगेन रॉन्ग, बट आई वाज लकी कि ऐसे कोई मेरे को मिला नहीं।
yeah, and like and I mean, yeah, I mean, it's completely changed your that hustle period wherein you worked for free out of your own like choice, because you wanted to prove a point to someone who came later on, right? Like
Yeah,
it was your choice. I'm sure that if you wanted to, you could still ask, and I'm sure people would thoda friction hota, but someone or the other would compensate you. And that too, this is
yeah,
part time, right? When you were doing your like actual job, corporate job, right? This is something you did on the side. So I think if people have that, like आग है, like that startup में जाना है, like by hook or crook, I'm sure people can sort of break in, right? Like by hustling one way or the other, right?
easily, easily,
Mhm.
easily, people, many people wants to, ठीक है,
Mhm.
like at least I would say कि जो लोग मतलब ऐसी कोई इतनी हायर पोस्ट है, इतनी अच्छी एमएनसी है, इतनी अच्छी सैलरी लेवल्स पे नहीं है, they can easily switch to startups, and this is I guess 90% of Indian colleges, ठीक है। Other than top 1% or top 5% of colleges, people do not get that many of salaries, तो कर सकते हैं लोग easily।
Absolutely. So, Abhay, in closing, right? I know we've had a very intense discussion about your trajectory from college to corporate to like how you just got into startups, and we will definitely like continue this conversation ahead in another episode and talk about like what happens inside the startup ecosystem, right? The life inside and the
Yeah,
learnings inside the startup ecosystem. But before we get there, right? Like, what advice would you have to give to, let's say, a 19-20-year-old enthu person who doesn't have those typical credentials, which people talk about? What advice would you give them to 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 change, I mean, the way they look at their career? What should they do over the next, let's say, 3 months? Forget like over 1 year or whatever. next 3 months में what actionable insights can they sort of pull off?
Sure. So yeah, one thing most of the people lack, and I also used to lack, कि हिम्मत नहीं है लोगों में, ठीक है, मैं कर पाऊंगा कि नहीं, तो रखो, ठीक है, हिम्मत रखो. यू विल ऑलवेज फाइंड पीपल बैंगलोर की गलियों में घूम रहे, कॉलेज से ड्रॉप आउट होके अर्निंग इन डॉलर्स, ठीक है. तो हर कोई कर सकता है. कभी ऐसा मत रखो कि मेरे को नौकरी नहीं मिलेगी, कुछ नहीं होगा, सब हो जाता है. Second thing, if you have not already started consuming the content, start consuming content from newsletters, videos, founder stories, anything. ठीक है, any material to start with. Just understand कि startup world कैसा होता है. Fairly easily तुम वीडियो से कर सकते हो. And if you have already done that, then you start working on something on your own. ठीक है, be it a side project, be it a side job or a part-time job, or start building something of your own on as a side project. ठीक है, as simple as तुम एक छोटा सा क्रोम का एक्सटेंशन बना सकते हो, तुम एक ईमेल का ऑटोमेशन बना सकते हो, समथिंग. ठीक है, बट मेक श्योर कि एनीथिंग दैट यू आर बिल्डिंग यू हैव सम सॉर्ट ऑफ ऑडियंस ऑलरेडी. ठीक है, बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे बना देते हैं एंड देन दे गो फॉर. तो सिंपल गोल रखो कि एक छोटा सा टूल बनाऊंगा, 100 लोगों को यूज करने के लिए बोलूंगा, दैट्स. ठीक है, तो आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल who even starts consuming the content, they don't know कि किस पॉइंट के बाद कंटेंट कंज्यूम करना वो बहुत ज्यादा वो है. एंड आई हैड दिस थिंग. ठीक है, मैं ऑलमोस्ट 6-8 महीने 10 महीने तक सिर्फ कंटेंट कंज्यूम करता रहा. But I probably should have started working on something or building small things of my own. So this is very very important. Yeah.
Got it. So yeah, the first thing is himmat, right? Like have some confidence in yourself, like that you'll be able to pull it off. Understand the world, right? Like padho, content consume karo, not too much of it, of course. And then third is like at least make something that 100 people will sort of interact with and use, right? Something doesn't have to be radically different, yeah, world changing, but some creation of your own to demonstrate, right? That I think is definitely something people will like, people who like founders or early team members or recruiting would definitely take note of, right? So yep, Abhay, like thanks for that clarity, right? And we shall end today's episode here, but I'm sure
Sure.
we'll be back. We will definitely be back for more hot gossip on what goes inside the startup ecosystem. And yeah,
Look
like
forward to it. Yeah.
we will definitely cover your Twitter strategy of making like meme videos that are unparalleled, right? So yep, thanks Abhay, thanks for dropping by. And yeah, hope the audience has fun watching this video. uh,
Thanks,
Chalo.
Raj, for having me. And yeah, for the audience, do let us know in the comments. Okay, this is the first time I'm doing something in this setting, so would love to know the feedback.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
thank you.